What is IAM? IAM is an identity and access management. Okay, so it defines who can access the AWS console or your AWS resources and what permissions are given for each of the users, right? So it's a global service. Okay, root account is created by default because when you register an account, the root account is created by default, and this account shouldn't be used or shared. Means that you create a root account, come and create a first user. After that, don't use the root account at all. Okay, and unless that you have a billing and others which you need to create it, you will not be using the root account, right? The root account shouldn't be used or shared. Why? Because this has to be the first level of entry. So once it's done, you create one administrator user and let this guy create all the uses and policies for you. So don't log in with the root account again. Okay. Second, so users are people within your organization and can be grouped. So groups can contain users, but not other groups. They're simple things. It's very similar to your Windows, but sometimes in Windows groups, one group can contain other groups within that, right? So this cannot happen. This can contain only users here, right? So the users can be part of multiple groups. At the same time, an user will inherit all the permissions from a group. Okay. So there are two terms we looked at. One is user group. Second one is user. Okay. So other than that, these two are called identities. Not only this, there are two more. We call this identity. So we are creating an identity inside your IAM. Okay. So what I'll do is before coming back here, I'll be giving a little more details on IAM users on the console side, right? We'll just quickly jump back into our hands-on. We'll create a simple user, or maybe we can set agenda here. So let's do this one. So create an user. Again, assign to user group, right? Then to user group assign permissions. To user group. So we'll do this three simple step in the hands-on. Here I have to go look for IAM. Okay, if you are in, can you please confirm if you have access to IAM or AWS Console, you have account ready? Could you please confirm? I have asked it and have not received any response yet. Could you please confirm if you have access? All right. No problem, Kumar. What we can do is we will create it along the way, but until then you can listen to my voice and you can listen to watch my screen until you get that right. Okay. So you can go ahead and creating a free account. You don't have to wait for taking any training. It's just 12 months. You'll get it for free. So anytime, please go ahead and start that as your starting point on AWS. So right now I'm clicking on IAM, right? In the IAM, if you come, you will get a IAM home console where you will see a dashboard, right? This is the dashboard in IAM home console. In that, you'll see this is my sign-in URL for any users who's logging into this account. So the hierarchy is we have something called, let me just show you the hierarchy. So we have something called AWS organization, okay? So with AWS organization, what we create is we create multiple accounts. So within this multiple account, you have multiple users. Right, this is a normal organization, right? This AWS organization, very similar to IAM, is another service which allows you to create multiple accounts, and there is something called service control policies, SCPs, right? We can create something called service control policy. Using service control policy, we can maintain each of the account, but we'll not go there. We'll take the AWS organization a little later because we always start with the account. Once you have the account, you will start creating your users. Okay. If you look at this one, on the left side, you have user groups, users, roles, and policies. Okay. These three, the top three, user group, users, and roles are identities. What I mean identity, it represents someone. Okay. And the top two, users and users groups, is what we looked at. What we will do is we'll create a very simple user. Okay. So I clicked on users over here. Once I click on users, I click on add an user. Okay. I already have a couple of users which I like to delete it before I do this one. I will go ahead and create a new user. The new user is demo user one. I'm giving that as a demo user one. And there are two options you can choose. One is a programmatic access, another one is a console access, right? So programmatic access, any person with programmatic access can you log in through these things, right? API, CLI stands for command line interface. The third one is SDK, software development kit. So if you want to programmatically access your AWS resources, first you need to authenticate, right? To authenticate, you have to use something called access keys, right? This is not a username password, right? We use something called access key. The access key will contain a key ID and a secret ID. Very similar to a username and password is a so so you can distribute that into your program. You can add that into your configuration. Using that key, the program can log in and work on behalf of a user, right? The second option, just like how we log into our AWS console, the second one will provide an username password for your AWS console as well. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is I have created a demo user. Then I have given two options, programmatic access as well as console access. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a custom password. So I can auto generate a password, not a problem. You will get an email with a password, but I would prefer to use a custom password. This is since it's a demo, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on show password. I'm going to type a very simple password, demo. So this is my password, demo pwd-1 is my password. So if you look at this option, it will ask the user to reset your password once you log in first time. Okay, I don't want that to happen because I am setting a custom password which I would like to retain that, right? So I have selected a username and programmatic access and AWS management console access. Then I'm choosing a custom password. I don't want to reset that password. I'm unchecking this checkbox. I go to permissions. Okay, so we are in permissions now. I'm going to leave the permissions as it is because I want to give permission at the user group level. Now we are only creating user. So let's skip this one. Don't do anything on this one. Just go next, review, and click on create users, right? And when you're doing that, you are getting a warning. This user have no permissions. It is okay to me because I will be creating a user group. On the user group, I will be adding a user. So I'm going to click on create user. So once I clicked on the create users, look at this one, right? I'm getting an URL to sign in using this user. Okay. So not only that, it also shows an access key and a secret key. So if you just click on that, you'll be able to see the secret key as well, right? The same things can be sent via email to you, but I prefer this option. You have option to download that as CSV. Click on that. That particular new user credential will be downloaded to your local. When you open, then you'll be able to see the user, the URL, and the secret, right? So this is a user which I created. This is the access key ID, the secret key ID. Remember, these are used in API, CLI, and your SDK. So you'll get the console link access here. So now I have created a user, right? So the next thing what I'll do is I'll try to log in as a user to see what happens. Okay. I click on this link, right click, open with a new tab. So you could see this particular account ID by default has been given over here. Here, what I'll do is I will go and add the user which I created, demo user one. Similarly, I gave a password there. Let me put the password also. I give the password. I click on sign in. Now, I'm not going to save this one. Now, if you could see at the top right corner, right? See it over here. Right? What you see is a demo user one at your account ID. So this is your account ID, right? So this is my account ID. So it has logged in as a user to my account. So that's a little different from what we have seen with the root account, right? It's always recommended you create a first user out of your root user. After that, you please don't use it. Okay, it's a good practice, security practice. All right. So now I have been logged in, but remember this particular user does not have any permissions, as you could remember, because I have not added any permission at all while creating the user. Okay. Just 1 minute. So I will try to access an IAM here, right? I was able to access IAM from my root user account. Now that this is a new user, I click on IAM. Let's see what happens. So when I click on that, you see there is a lot of issues coming up. It says this particular user is not authorized to perform get account summary, list account aliases, mean that obviously I don't have permission to see many of the resources itself. Okay, that's why I wanted to show you how it is important to assign permission to the user. Until you assign, you will not be having any access to the console or any resources. By default, all the users will have all permissions denied. You have to start adding permission one after another. Okay, so I'm going to close this one. We will come back and log in again one more time to show. So what I'm trying to do is I will log into my console. Let me take this out of your view. I will be logging into AWS console now with my root account details. So this time I want to log in as a root account. So here I go and click on sign in using root user email. So this is my email which I use. I'm putting my security check. Then I'll be adding my password as well in the other screen. Now I have logged in using a root account, right? So this time it is different. You see, it doesn't have the names, and because this is a root account, right? I have to go to IAM. Now I have to start assigning permission to my user. I'll go to my users. Then this is the user which I created, right? Now I would like to create a user group. So I have to go to user group on the left side, click on user groups. In the user groups, I have already some user groups defined. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete them. So there's no user groups right now. Let me go and create one, right? I'm going to create a user group called admins. I'm creating a user group called administrators. Okay. So I want to add this particular user to that, right? So what I did, I created a user group. Then I added one particular user to the user group. Then I'll come back here. I'll skip the permission now. I'll go and create a group. Right? As you could see, I have created the group, but it says a warning to me saying the permissions are not defined yet. The next step is I will go to my administrator group. I'll define the permission because I want to give this guy and full access to AWS. So what will I go? I'll go to the users, and this is the user here, added here, right? Then the next tab is permissions. In the permission, this is for the user group. Remember, I go to permission here, and then I click on add permissions, right? In the add permission, there are two options: create an inline policy and attach policies. The first one is what I'm going to use for the demo. I click on attach policies, right? And then there is so many policies are displayed over here. See, there are so many policies here. But if you look at the first one, there were a few policies which are customer managed policies, right? So this has been created using my demos. So there are so many policies which has been done by the customer managed, right? I look at this AWS managed policy, a policy which is predefined by AWS at many cases. So what is a policy? So that brings in question, what is IAM policy? We will be discussing that in the presentation. But right now, a policy is a group of permissions. 3, 4, or maybe even more, 200, 300 permissions can be grouped together and saved as a managed policy. And when you select this policy and attach it, all the permission defined in the policies are available to the user as well. So now I'll be looking for administrator access, right? I will just search administrator. I'll just look for administrator access. There are a couple of things: database administrator, network administrator, and system administrator. What I was actually looking for is this, and a simple administrator access will have access to everything. Okay. So what I did, I went here, added a permission, then attach a policy. When in attach policy, then I'm looking for administrator here. Then I got my particular policy as administrator access. I selected that. I'm going to add permission here on the bottom. So here, once you've added the permission, the policies has been displayed over here, right? You can always, anytime you can right click and click this policy to go and look what is inside that policy. Okay. So the policy administrator access is what I clicked on. It will start displaying all the options available inside that, right? As you could see, there are 284 services. You have full access, right? There are 284 services. You are getting a full access that includes your EC2, IAM, and CloudFormation, CloudWatch, and etc. Okay, so that's why I've given you admin access to this particular user, right? Now it is done. What I've done, I've created a user group. On the user group, I've added a permission, but I've not added the permission to the user. But when you go back to the users on the left side, click on the user, then you can see a particular permission has been added here, right? How does it got added? It shows like you can attach from a group. Means what are the permission that your group had has been inherited to the user. Okay, so you can ask a question, can't I add and permission myself directly to a user? Well, you can do that. I'll give you a sample here. Click on add permissions from the user. Right now you are in users tab. Click on add permissions. When you are clicking on add permissions, click on attach existing policies directly, right? So I'm looking for something like a S3 read only. Okay, so by typing S3, then I will see a permission called S3 read only access, right? I'm selecting this, go to review, add permissions. Now you can see this single user, demo user one, have two type of permission, and one permission which has been attached or inherited from a group, which is administrator access, are the other permission which are directly attached, right? Which is AS3 read-only access. So this is how you go ahead and create permissions and users and user groups. Remember, policies are nothing but a group of permissions grouped together, managed there in policies. Okay, we'll come back and discuss the policies, but I hope that you are very clear how to create a user, how to create a user group, assign the user to the user group, how to add permission at the user group level, or how to add permission at the user level.